Old Friends Net meets 3 times a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9 a.m. on 3715, and Sundays at 4 p.m. on 3715. The Old Friends Net is a Amplitude Modulation only net, and while we encourage the restoration and use of vintage gear, we will let anybody with any rig that can generate AM participate. It's also carried out in a roundtable fashion. I will take check-ins, and we'll get a list of folks that want to participate and go down the list and start over again. Usually we get in at least 2 rounds. This is a great place to look for gear, sell something, buy something, a bit or a piece of something you may need, or maybe some information you're looking for. So, for those wishing to participate and go down the list, for MEC a call and come now.
Good morning, Charlie. WA4LLR.
N4LQ.
KZ4 Bravo.
WB4ARK.
NC4ON.
Okay. So far, we've got WA4LLR, Dave, Steve, N4LQ, John KZ4B, Buddy, WB4ARK, Boone, WA4EVK, Stefan, NC4ON. Do we have any further check-in?
K3OS.
You missed GDN.
I did not copy GDN. Where was he in the list?
He was after me before John.
Thank you. I will put him in that on the line there. Anybody after K3OS? Okay. Let's see. Add Gary, K3OS, after Stefan, NC4ON. So our list this morning is LLR, LQ, GDN, 4 Bravo, ARK, EVK, ON, and OS. So, and let's get started here. This is Charlie, and I'm in Henderson County, North Carolina, running an Apache and a Mohawk to a dipole antenna. It's about 28 degrees here, and I'm saying the sun's trying to burn through. I don't know if it's fog or if it's getting ready for the weekend rain that's coming in a couple of days here. We'll find out. So let's get started with Dave. WA4LLR in the group. W4MEC.
Okay, Charlie, fine business. W4MEC. And the group WA4LLR. Good morning to everybody. Good signals all the way around so far. My name's Dave in Burnsville, North Carolina, running an ART-13, listening on an HQ-180, feeding a horizontal dipole at about 50 feet. We've got 32 degrees, mostly sunny skies, beautiful sunrise this morning. So I guess we're got maybe one more day of the really nice weather, and then the rains come for about 4 days, looks like. But that's good. I have enjoyed this weather so far. And the main topic of conversation on an earlier net this morning was the theft of a 200-foot tower from a broadcast station in Jasper, Alabama. And it's kind of amazing how the thieves came in and got that tower without somebody seeing them. And what are they going to do with it? Because if suddenly that tower appears in somebody's yard, it's going to be mighty suspicious. N4LQ, WA4LLR.
WA4LLR, N4LQ. Indeed. Well, I am on, I guess this is my debut with the Night Kit T150 here on the old Friends Net. At least had it on a while ago. Seems to be holding up okay, and I think it's going to be a pretty good transmitter. Running the T150 and receiving on the old RX 888 here, and the antenna is a horizontal loop up on a 200-foot tower, which I just put up. So George, I think I heard you. I hope I did. K4GDN, N4LQ.
Okay, N4LQ in the group. This is K4GDN. Are you hearing me now, Steve?
Oh yeah, real good.
Okay. I'm on the 4B station this morning. Running about, I got it tuned up for about 300 watts on the L4B. And running the 4B Drake Twin. Copying everybody fairly well. Charlie in the 15th. So with that, I'll pass it on to John. KZ4B in the group, K4GDN.
Okay, K4GDN in the group. This is KZ4 Bravo. Fine business there, George. The handle here is John. The location is the east side of Lake Norman, 2 miles from exit 33 of I-77 north. The rig is also a T150 transmitter, driving an Ameritron AL1500, in turn feeding an AT5K Palstar tuner, which in turn via ladder line is feeding a double extended ZEP resonant on 160 meters. Well, it's not resonant, set up for 160 meters. Dave, I got a comment on the tower deal. I think it's going to disappear south of the border. I can't imagine them setting it up stateside and expecting to get away with it. And Steve, the T150 sounds good. I can't imagine you got yours on the air a whole lot quicker than I got mine on the air. You're a fast operator. And speaking of getting stuff on the air, I have finally got a rig set up for joining you gentlemen on 160 meters tonight, hopefully. I got it on the air talking to a guy on sideband last night. After, Steve, I heard you on and you got off, but I didn't get mine cranked up until after you had signed off on 1864. But it's the Alinco SR9T rather, driving a Titan 1, which feeds a AT4K Palstar tuner that via a short run of coax feeds a Wyndham, off-center fed Wyndham, resonant on 160 meters. So I had been trying. I have my highest mileage Titan 1 lost a foul. It's got a pair of 3CX800s, and it lost one of them last week, so I couldn't get on. I had to swap amplifiers, and so that's the situation. Okay, buddy, take it away. WB4ARK in the group, the ever-brief KZ4 Bravo, over.
KZ4B, WB4ARK. Good morning, the net, and we've got 26 degrees early this morning, 36 now, with a very high cloud cover. So that's the weather forecast for right now. The station is ART-13 R390A, feeding a transmatch that feeds a horizontal dipole. Getting ready to do a mod on a KWM-2A Collins mod for a friend, and can't wait to get started on that. Gives me something to do. I haven't had much to do around here lately, electronic-wise, so looking forward to that. I did some welding for my son at his shop on Tuesday. Did a welding job for Toyota yarn company around Gastonia. So that's been the highlight of the work here. So I guess we'll send it on over to WA4EVK. This is WB4ARK.
WB4ARK in the group, WA4EVK. Well, thank you, buddy. Been doing as much yard work. Actually, the wife accuses me of kind of sneaking off from the yard work and doing antenna work, and I plead guilty. I've been trying to get a little antenna work done during the balmy weather compared to what we've been having, and that kind of wraps up what's going on here. I'm using a AF68 into a Swan Mark I amp to a 80 meter in-fed up about 45 feet or so. That I hope to change. I'm putting up a duplicate antenna to that one at right angles to see if I can extend my coverage out a little further. It's real obvious that it's where the coverage ends. It's definitely HVIS. That's my problem with getting some of the more distant stations. It sounds like quite a few of the guys are headed for Orlando, I guess it is, for the Hamfest. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to KC4ON, Stefan, to take it, WA4EVK.
Hey, Stefan, your turn, NC4ON, W4MC.
Yes, Charlie, I'm on the phone right now. I'll come back right. You give it over to Gary.
Okay, pick it up, Gary.
All right, guys. And good morning from K3OS in Hickory. Let's see. Got a little issue with my push-to-talk circuit here, but I think I got that temporarily squared away. Everything is running. Good to hear everybody this morning. Buddy, the only comment I can give you is, if you're looking for some stuff to do, I got plenty. Oh my gosh. Oh, I've got, I don't know how many, like a lot of us, right? Working on multiple things at the same time. I spent yesterday actually working on a couple of things. One of the things was cut a new bottom cover for my ICO 720 transmitter project that came without a bottom cover, and I had a sheet of aluminum, so we cut it. Drilled some holes and got to do a little more fitting with that, but that looks like it's going to go. Just waiting on a new drive pot to come in, which Steve found was bad, and heating up big time, like somebody had substituted it and put in the wrong wattage. So I got a 5-watt 50K pot, which I was able to find out in the West Coast. New Central Lab got a couple of units coming in, and then we can start working on the cosmetics on that. I'm going to do a little bit of that while I'm waiting for that pot to come in, and then get the modulator going. So that's the project. I'm running As a result of having trouble with the Gonset twins, a little bit of hum. By the way, I never did replace the caps in that unit when I put it on the air, so if one has failed, that would not surprise me. So I'm going to dig into that at some point in time. Meanwhile, I'm running the Kenwood twins today because it was easy into the little Meritron amp running about 100 watts into my standard 200-foot inverted V with ladder line. So let me take it back to Charlie. W4ME, MEC K3OS. Go ahead.
Real good, Gary. K3OS and the old friends, W4MEC. And the old friends that. Do we have any late check-ins that would like to join us? Come now.
W4MEC. And we're QH1, just want to say hello, just want to say hello.
Okay, Lau, good morning. It's N4QH down in Toccoa, and he just wants to check in and out. So that's real good. Thanks for joining us and increasing our count here up to 3, 6, 9 of us, I guess. That's good. And this is W4MEC and the old friends net, and let's see a couple of comments. I would expect that tower has probably been cut up and is heading to a scrapyard somewhere. Make some bucks for their drug addiction or something. When aluminum was really being pushed for recycle and everybody was collecting cans, we had a bridge that had an aluminum guardrail that kind of had a cast aluminum stanchion bolted to the concrete of the bridge, and two pipes would pass through holes in it, and that was your guardrail. And there was a very popular fishing spot in town. What's the funniest part about it was there was a power line that ran parallel to the bridge. This was on US 17, and I can't remember the inlet that it went in. It was a pretty big one, a lot of fish coming in and out there due to the brackish water and the high and low tides being tied to the Atlantic. But the power line was festooned with people's fishing lines. They would cast out there and do it wrong, and it'd end up wrapped around the darn power line. So it looked like ornaments hanging off a Christmas tree. There were so many of them. But over a period of time, that guardrail slowly disappeared piece by piece. The pipes went first, and then all the brackets went, and then there was nothing there. And I don't remember what they replaced it with, but they took them several months, and they piecemealed that thing off of that bridge and turned it into probably beer cans somewhere at some factory. So anyway, well, I'm confused about the T150. I thought, Steve, you bought that from John there, Z4B John. I didn't know that there was someone else out there that was selling one, but I wonder. Remind me where you got it. I missed that deal. That carried on in the parking lot at the lunch there the other day. I did get a copy on George. He kind of faded on the end there, but I did copy about 90% of that. So WA4LLR in the group, W4MEC.
All righty. W4MEC and the group. This is WA4LLR. All right. Good deal. Copied everybody just fine. Good morning to Lyle. Here, the Kenwood twins sound great. I had a set of those. They took a flight one morning. Oh, me. Many years ago, I had a tower up, high windstorm. My guys weren't what they should be. I went into the Radio Shack the next morning, looked around. The radios were gone off my operating desk. And I started looking to see where we had been broken into. Finally looked up, and they were up at the ceiling. Coax had pulled them up when the tower went down, and they were hanging at the ceiling. Good set of Kenwood twins, though. They survived it and worked many more stations. Well, the F68 sounds good. Good deal on the college project, buddy. And the welding, and glad you got the ART sounding just as good as always. And boy, I tell you, I'm impressed with these T150s. I'm going to have to start looking around. I should have kept the one I had. That thing was mint when I sold it. Oh, bless my heart. Anyhow, let's see here. As far as our space weather, pretty active. We've got sunspot count 164, solar flux index of 188, and the K is 1.33 at the last reading. Massive sunspot group, 200,000 kilometers across. I looked at it yesterday with a solar scope, and it was beautiful. It's got an unstable magnetic field, and we're looking right down the gun barrel. So if something goes off, it's definitely going to be. We're definitely going to feel the results of it. On this day in history, a few items of interest. On this day in 1974, Skylab said goodbye to its last occupants, and it re-entered in July and burned up. On this day in 1943, the Japanese vacated Guadalcanal and our forces took over. On this day in 1924, the first execution by lethal gas in Nevada. Let's see what else is going on. Mary, Queen of Scots, was beheaded, and Jack Nicholson, on this day in 1994, Jack Nicholson smashed a windshield in an episode of Road Rage. 1862, the Battle of Roanoke Island. That's enough. Anyway, back down to you, Steve. N4LQ, WA4LR.
WA4LLR, N4LQ. Let's see here if I can answer a few questions. The T-150 came from Mir, and I expressed an interest in one of these long time ago, and he said he had one. And then a few weeks went by, and he declared that he did not have one. He couldn't find it, and can you imagine that? So, and then another month or two went by, and he said, "Hey, I found it. I think he said he had two of them, but they were buried somewhere." So he gave me this one. The cabinet's kind of rusty on it, and it'll clean up okay. I'll spray it. Front panel is perfect. Inside is a disaster. Of course, the finals were missing, and the wires hanging down, and bad connections, and wrong wiring, and of course the filter capacitors were shot and all that. So it took me a couple of days to get it up to snuff. It's still not quite. The VFO is not quite right. I think, John, didn't you mention something about the VFO? I mean, it kind of jumps around. It's not jumping around now, but it kind of it has noise on it, I should say. If you listen to it, you can hear things that just ought not to be there. And I tried another VFO too. I did find another bad solder connection underneath, so I got that fixed. So that's probably a long story behind this poor thing. But I had one of these in 1964, right after I got my General. This wealthy ham loaned me this T-150, and I guess he felt sorry for me. But I thought it was the prettiest thing ever was. And I used it for a little while, and wasn't long before I got a pink ticket from the FCC about a harmonic. So I'm kind of wary about this one. I'm kind of keeping an eye on it. I'm running it through the amplifier and the antenna tuner, and hopefully between the two, something will filter out any of the harmonics. If it's not the best design in the world, but for a screen grid modulation or control carrier, and by the way, the same words are used in the same sentence in the manual. And Charlie, I thought you were going to tell me that bridge was shocking people because of the power line running next to it. I saw a video the other day of a guy that ran this really long wire about 3 feet off the ground, sort of like a beverage, right down close to one of these high tension lines, and he was he was charging up batteries from it, which was interesting. But and then I did mention my new tower here, 200 foot high, red and white, got a beacon on top. For some reason, nobody seemed to notice, but there it is. Over to you, George, K4GDN, N4LQ, on the 4B.
Okay, N4LQ, and the group's K4GDN. Now we're running the Drake 4B, the L4B, on the end-feed kilowatt matchbox. That's going to my line center fan dipole, horizontal dipole. The band's a bit weak for me this morning. There is some QSB, and I'm getting some noise too. I'm not sure if somebody turned something on. But that's what we're doing here. And I think I'm going to say 73 on this round because I am having some trouble copying information, Charlie and Boo particularly. Band seems to be a bit weak, and there is some QSB. So I'm going to say 73 and listen to the end of this round. And I don't know if I'll be in here Sunday or not with all the going on there. So with that, John's coming to you. KZ4B in the group, K4GDN.
Okay, K4GDN group. This is KZ4. Fine, Mr. George. You're right. There's a good bit of QS Baker today. But my next door neighbor's solar system hasn't kicked in to tear up reception like it usually does about this time. And also my son and his family moved down to Myrtle Beach very recently. And you're proving that I should be able to work him on 80 meters without too much trouble. Although you're on the weak side today relative to the situation here recently. Shifting gears, Steve, to answer your question on the VFO, I installed a 150 microfarad 450 volt capacitor on the power supply side of the dropping resistor that feeds the voltage regulator tube that in turn feeds the VFO, and that eliminated the frequency shift when on voice calls, and that may be what you were thinking about. And also I fabricated a very nice looking crystal holder. It's really a bracket or fixture that presses the crystal into the socket with about it's over 1 pound of tension using a 1 inch wide strip of copper that I attached to a neodymium magnet that sticks on the side of the cabinet, and the bracket curves around and grabs the crystal, because I can't afford for crystals to fall out of that crappy holder in the T150, and it seems to be working great. If you need a neodymium magnet, I can slip you one. You got to grind off the ears to make it fit better, but the neodymium magnets are super duper strong. And also I was going to comment, you said you needed to paint the cabinet. That's the only thing that I had to touch up on my T150, and I use zinc chromate primer, and it forms a texture. It's kind of a fine gray wrinkle texture that's identical to the original stock tuner, and just zinc chromate primer, and it's just a perfect match. So you might try that. You can get it at Lowe's or anywhere. And on the harmonics with the T150 and a lot of the early transmitters, I read this lengthy article just a couple of days ago in QST where they told you how to operate a novice transmitter, and they left out the most important thing, and that is that when you're tuning the tank circuit, if you want to make sure you're not transmitting harmonics, you start with the capacitor. This is a bread slicer capacitor, fully meshed, i.e. maximum capacitance, and go toward minimum. And the first dip you come to is going to be the fundamental. In other words, if you're on 80, it's 80 meters. If you're on 40, it's 40 meters. Because the T150 in a lot of transmitters would have a second dip as you go along, decreasing the capacitance, and that is the harmonic. And I did not know that. And it should be obvious, but it wasn't. And I got a lot of correspondence from the FCC until I figured that out. So, and QST did not mention that. And I guarantee you that was the bane of our existence back in the old days. And let's see if there's anything else. Harmonic, zinc chromate, crystal holder. So I am, by the way, back on a crystal control. And the beauty of that, aside from not having to zero beat the VFO, is it's instant warm-up. There's no drift. And the VFO in the T150, it really needs at least 15 or 20 minutes of warm-up to stabilize the VFO thermally. And I added a fan on the back of mine attached with tie wraps, and it's a very vigorous fan because the transformer in the T150 tends to run a little hot, and that keeps it cool. And the thing is that turning the fan on does not impact the VFO at all, which really surprised me. In other words, you could let it warm up for 15 or 20 minutes with the fan off and then turn the fan on, and it does not change frequency at all, which is a good thing. So I've had it enough. George, George signed. I guess it goes to, I don't go to George anyway. Buddy, it's yours. WB4ARK in the group, KZ4B, over.
KZ4B, WB4ARK. Okay, John. Well, Charlie, you didn't mention if that tower was actually in use at the time. I'm wondering about that. That would be interesting. So, don't have much else going on here right now. So we'll send it on over to Boone, WA4 EVK, WB4ARK.
WB4ARK in the group, WA4EVK. One of the comments in that article about that radio tower theft said they cleaned out all of the equipment. Taking down a 200-foot tower, and if there was a transmitter on site, which there should have been at that point, and leaving with it, it must have been really isolated. Because I can't, even with carbide saws like they used to use in the junkyards to cut up car bodies, cutting up a 200-foot tower to stack it in normal, some type of trailer, even if it was long, had to take some time, much less moving equipment. So I'm not sure what was going on there. This thing must have been way away from somebody or any other person. farm or anything like that. And with that, I'm going to send it on to Stefan, KC4ON, to take it, WA4EVK.
Hey, Stefan, you're off the phone, NC4ON in the group, W4MEC. I guess he's still on the landline. Pick it up, Gary.
All right. W4MEC in the group, K3OS. Okay. Let's get the one comment to Dave. I've got this vision of radios being hung by the coax. Wonder whether you ever got a picture of that. Terrible thing. But looking back on it, it is kind of anyway, yeah, I've enjoyed the Kenwood twins. I'm working. It is interesting though. You cannot run them in transceive on AM because when it generates carrier, it's about a kilocycle, 1.5 kilocycles off. So you got to run them in split, which is okay. It means I can track everybody on receive. But little things the manual kind of doesn't tell you. You've got to hit from the manual, but they're not bad. And of course, it's got a 5 kilohertz filter in it, and that makes life pretty easy. Although it's interesting when I tune across it, the filter seems to have like a double hump into it because you get kind of an interesting passband.
Stefan, you double with Gary.
Pretty nice little radio. I've enjoyed it, and I've got it. It's the only AM thing so far that I've got connected up to my amplifier here to give me a little bit more juice, and of course I can easily control the drive on the Kenwood with the AM. So anyway, I'm going to say 73s here to everybody, and get outside, do a little walking, get my day going. Kind of pretty busy today. Get a few things done before the rain, the monsoons hit this weekend, or whatever we're supposed to get. So, Charlie, back to you. Everybody have a great day. W4MEC, K3OS.
Okay, Gary. Well, I don't know about everybody else, but you won that double contest. I copied your entire transmission. Stefan was transmitting under you, and I guess he came up at the exact moment I told you to go ahead, so because he didn't come back on my call. So anyway, Stefan, go ahead and retransmit what you were saying there, so we can all hear it. For those of us who didn't, if you would like, NC4ON in the group, W4MEC. Well, I guess he didn't want to repeat himself. Sorry about that. I thought you were still on the phone when you didn't come back. So let's see. Radios at the ceiling. That's interesting. Hopefully it was not the coax was, still under tension because the tower hadn't completely fallen, and the radios were acting like a plug. So that's pretty neat. At least we know you know how to put a connector on a coax. I'll say that. I guess the twins there, when they go to AM, they just shift one of the sideband crystals into the filter pass band, so it's going to look like it's off to the side there. So Swan did that with their 350 and the 250 6-meter rig. Just single sideband AM, and they just shifted one of the carrier oscillators in there so you could get a carrier through it. Anyway, let's see any other notes there. That had to be a remote transmitter site. But the other thing is, when you look like you know what you're doing, people don't pay attention. So if they showed up there with, let's say they brought a crane or a whole crew and they stripped the whole thing down, everybody would say, well, look at there, they're just taking that station down, and no one would have thought to call the cops and say, hey, they're stealing the whole thing. So, I can't remember if it was, I think it was Boone mentioned it probably was not on the air. It doesn't sound like a job they could do in one day, where if it was a graveyard station that went off the air at sundown and they would have like 12 hours to do it, maybe they could accomplish it in the dark. But who can take a tower down in the dark? So anyway, let's go back at least one more time with, let's see, Let's see, George checked out, Gary checked out, and I didn't hear anything from Stefan on the retry, so I guess we'll mark him as checked out. WA4LLR in the group, W4MEC.
W4MEC and the group, WA4LLR. Yeah, that's an interesting situation about that tower. I guess it was conceivable they could have taken it down if they just, used a acetylene torch or something and cut the legs and let it drop. But from what I read in the article, it didn't seem like that appeared to be the situation. It appeared like they took it lock, stock, and barrel without the calamity. So I don't know. Oh yeah, yeah. I was always pretty good at fastening PL259s on, but fortunately there was enough slack in the coax. The tower did make it down without not being suspended by the radios up against the ceiling. And that was stupid. I didn't take a picture. I don't know why I didn't. But man, that was, well, let's see, that was, when was that? Sometime in the 70s. Yeah, rude awakening. Anyway, Charlie, thanks for calling in the net. Everybody have a great day. 7-3, God bless, and we'll look for you tomorrow, I guess. What is today? Thursday, yeah. All righty, N4LQ. Everybody have a great day. WA4LLR.
Okay, Dave. N4LQ. Well, the thing about your situation there with the radios on the ceiling, I'm not an expert on mathematics, but it looks like the radios would have gone from the table up to the ceiling, maybe 6 feet, which means the tower had fallen over 6 feet. It really couldn't have gone very far. So I don't know about the trigonometry involved there. And then what happened? Did you take the coaxes loose and the tower went ahead and fell? That would have been a lot of tension on those coaxes. Or did you go outside and push the tower back up? I don't know. It's confusing. Anyway, that thing about that tower theft, I'm pretty well convinced that there's something rotten in Denmark about that whole story. I don't think it's true. And it could be an insurance scam. It could be the owner of the place took it down himself, but that would take days to do it right. I mean, the thing was covered with cell phone repeater antennas and transmitter antennas of all kinds. Somebody would have noticed pretty quick if it went off the air and all the services it was supporting disappeared and the station went off the air, and then some guy cutting grass just happened to notice. And I don't know, it's too many. It's not passing the smell test, but that's just me. So let's see, George has set his 73 to George. And over to John, KZ4B for a short one, N4LQ.
Okay, N4LQ in the group. This is KZ4 Bravo Fine Business Speed. Very good copy. The next door neighbor's cell system hasn't cranked up like it usually does yet, which means I've heard just about everybody, and that's a good thing. And I don't have anything much more. Charlie, thanks for calling the net. Everybody have a great week, and I'm going to call this my 73 round. I'll be listening, but not transmitting further without a question or something. So, buddy, take it away, y'all. WB4ARK in the group, KZ4 Bravo, over.
KZ4B, WB4ARK. Well, let's see here. Looks like my antenna current's kind of low. but the output to the antenna is high. So I don't know exactly what's going on there. So we will just leave the adjustments as they are. Yeah, I think there's something fishy going on about that story regarding the tower. Yeah, that's a big project, especially getting all the equipment out. Yeah, I think somebody made a mistake, took the equipment after it was maybe deemed to be taken apart anyway, so I wonder if that's the case. I don't have anything else going on here right now. Just waiting to get started on this mod. And that's about it, folks. So I will say 73 and turn it over to Boone WA4 EVK, WB4 ARK.
WB4 ARK, the group, WA4 EVK. Thank you, buddy. Not much to say here, just going to say 73s. I'm trying to shoehorn a HQ-170 in my operating position, and looks like I've got to do some woodworking to move stuff around so I can get it in here with stuff I don't want to remove. So that's about it here, and I'm going to sign out of here. I guess, Charlie, I'm going to try getting the step on NC4ON, WA4EVK.
Well, I'll try one more time. NC4ON, and still is W4MEC. I didn't hear anything. Okay, just one quick note here to end. John and I, and John BBC John, are going to Lee's place today, pick up the gear, sort out the stuff that's been on loan to them, and return it to the owners. And we will put up a list of the things that he has. He also has tables. There are 2 tables. If you look in the pictures that were sent, they're very nice tables. Lee had them built along with those white U-shaped supports, and they will hold up just about any transmitter made, and the tables are very sturdy, and I'm pretty sure we're going to have to take those out of there too. So if you need an operating table or a workbench or something, keep us in mind. I'll bring them down. If John doesn't take them, I'll bring them with me to the lunch if anybody wants them. The other thing, if your closing comment about the missing tower, what's the big hole in the ground? If you remember, I believe it was a twilight zone. And it could have been an hour limit, but it was a twilight zone where a ham radio operator was featured in it, and I can't remember if they came and killed him or not. But it was the episode where the aliens had taken an entire city block off the planet and loaded it on their aircraft and their spacecraft and took off with it, and all these people woke up one morning and couldn't figure out what was going on. They're all walking around. The town ended. And they showed the Earth there with this big hole in the ground where the block used to be. So I'd check for a large hole in the ground. 73, all. We'll see you on Sunday. And thanks for everybody that checked in today. W4MEC shutting down the old FriendsNet. Bye-bye.
Steve, the solution to your trigonometry problem about the tower and the coax and the rigs, there was enough slack in the coax to allow the tower to hit the ground, and yet just get the radios to the top. There was some excess coax in there, so the trigonometry is not really hard. WA4LR.
Okay. Well, just holding the radios up then, if there was all that slack.
There was just enough slack to let the tower hit the ground and get the radios to the ceiling. If there'd been any more, they wouldn't have made it up. If there'd been any less, they'd have went through the ceiling.
Okay, but yeah, okay. Well, the radios, between the radios and the ceiling's only about 5 feet, so I couldn't figure out how the tire hit the ground. I don't know. I'll think about it. Thanks a lot, Dave.
No problem. W84LLR.
N4LQ clear.